Absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning, it's 9 o'clock on your New Year's Eve, and I'm with you for the next 20 minutes with the Great British Breakfast. We're going to be looking through the front pages with my panel of commentators, but first, here's the news with Rhiannon.
I'm Rhiannon Jones. This is your news at 9 o'clock. Boris Johnson has announced government booster targets have been met and that the UK is in an incomparably better position than this time last year. In his New Year message, the Prime Minister says the country has offered all eligible adults the chance to get a booster jab. He adds 7 in 10 eligible adults in England have had their third vaccine, but he urged those celebrating tonight to remain cautious and to take a test before going out.
British people have responded heroically, voluntarily, and in almost incredible numbers to the call to get vaccinated. Though I must, of course, urge everyone to be cautious and to take a test if you're going out and to remember the importance of ventilation. Follow the rules if you're in Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland.
Health leaders, meanwhile, have warned up to 40% of vaccine appointments are no-shows. The NHS has said it's encouraging to see people coming forward for their jabs, but some vaccination clinics are reportedly only a third full. Doctors are urging everyone to take up their jab and take necessary precautions while celebrating this year.
Please, whatever happens, don't shoot the messengers. Those of us who are in healthcare, our main concern is to make sure that the risk of infections are minimized. And if people are rigorous and nevertheless can have a chance to enjoy themselves, that's what we're all aiming for.
Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes in the US amid devastating wildfires. The governor of Colorado has declared a state of emergency after 600 homes were destroyed. The fires are spreading quickly in strong winds of up to 105 miles an hour, with the blaze currently covering 2.5 square miles. Scientists say climate change and an extremely dry autumn and winter are to blame. The US and Russian presidents have exchanged warnings over Ukraine in a video call. In a 50-minute conversation, their second this month, Joe Biden said he needed to see Russia decrease its military build-up near Ukraine. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin said sanctions threatened by Washington and its allies could lead to a breakdown in relations. The call was requested by Putin. But both sides said diplomatic talks in January could ease spiraling tensions. Credit card spending has leapt past pre-pandemic levels. Barclaycard says consumer spending has risen by nearly 6% this year compared to 2019. The credit card giant says it's due to a boom in online shopping. Takeaways, digital entertainment and home improvements were among the things consumers spent their money on. That's despite the broader economic impact of the pandemic. Britons living in the EU have been given the green light to travel home by road via France. Non-essential travel to the country has been largely prohibited since the 18th of December in a bid to limit the spread of the Omicron variant. The French government also imposed a travel ban on UK nationals driving through the country onto other European nations, but this too has now been suspended. It comes as Germany is also set to lift a ban on British tourists. From midnight on the 4th of January, those fully vaccinated or that have an important reason to travel can enter the country. Care homes that set up their own pubs during lockdown boosted spirits of those cut off from loved ones. That's according to a survey. More than half of 4,000 care home staff said socialising in-house helped residents' well-being during the pandemic. 3/4 were found to have formed a stronger bond, while a fifth used the daily pub. And they were once a rare sight in UK waters, but humpback whales are making a comeback. The Cornwall Wildlife Trust recorded 17 local sightings this year as the species are thought to be chasing newly arrived shoals of sardines. The giant mammals have also been seen off the Isle of Scilly, the Firth of Forth and Shetland. Marine experts say a ban on commercial whaling means numbers are slowly recovering. And that's it for now. I'll be back with the headlines in an hour. For now, it's back to Ellie.
Thanks, Rhiannon, and good morning to you watching at home. Thank you for your company. Let's start your Friday morning for the final time this year. Let's take a look at some of today's front pages. We'll start with the Mail. On the front page today, an Epstein victim's lawyer warns that Prince Andrew should be, and I quote, quaking in his boots following his friend Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction for sex trafficking yesterday. A similar warning from The Telegraph. A lawyer for one of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims declares that the Duke is not safe from justice, as it will prevail whether you're a president or a prince, the paper says. Prince Andrew also features on the front page of the Daily Mirror, who reports he has been told to cooperate with the FBI over the sexual abuse claims against him. But the Daily Express reports the Duke's main fear is the damage the case will do to the monarchy and the Queen should it go ahead. The Independent asks what's next for the Prince, while also describing COVID hospitalisations in England, saying that it could rise to a peak in just 10 days. But the Scottish Times reports that NHS England officials do not believe the threshold for new COVID restrictions has been met yet. That's despite the surge in hospitalisations. They contrast this with the new restrictions imposed by Nicola Sturgeon this week. The Guardian leads with continued coverage of the COVID test shortage, reporting that the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, is considering prioritising NHS workers to ensure that they can get back to work. But how can he, says the Star, reporting that test hoggers are charging over £200 for a test kit in what they call daylight swabbery. And finally, in some good economic news, booming markets and widespread stimulus measures have resulted in 2021 being the record year for global mergers and acquisitions. That's according to the Financial Times. There's lots going on. And to discuss today's top stories and front pages, I'm joined by a panel. They've been fantastic today. Welcome to John Smith, a sports agent and entrepreneur, and Morgan Schondelmeyer from the Adam Smith Institute. Good morning to both of you. You have been fantastic. Let's start with that story all over the front pages today. It is the Ghislaine Maxwell trial in New York. And Morgan, let's start with you. It wasn't quite the show trial that we were all expecting, was it?
I don't think so. I don't think, partially due to her reluctance to name any kind of co-conspirators, there weren't as many bombshells. I think there were probably a lot of things that we knew going into the trial, and it was, these were explored over the course of several days. As you mentioned earlier, the jury deliberation took quite a few days, which I think maybe kind of dampened the tension a little bit as we were waiting around for their decision. But I think this story is far from over. I think we'll probably see a lot more as the pressure mounts on, the alleged perpetrators. So we'll see.
That's going to be the interesting one, isn't it? It's going to be, because I think essentially the story is a huge story, and we should discuss it. It affects very few people other than this immediate group. But she's going to get upwards towards 60-odd years of imprisonment by the looks of things. And she's going to have to sing very loud to bring that down. She's 60 now. So she's going to have to sing very loud and throw a lot of names into the frame, I think, in the next few weeks to bring that down to a manageable place where she might just get out again. Which means that we're going to be fascinated by the names, and then we're going to get a bit bored with it. And then comes the whole Andrew thing after that, which is interesting because I think the one who stands to perhaps be affected most by that is probably Prince Charles. Because the Queen, bless her, and I have to say this by the way, I was looking back at the stories about the Queen in the paper this morning. I've lived quite a few years now, and I've lived through, I counted 13 governments, but one Queen. So, I mean, she's an astonishing lady, but she's obviously going to pull back a little bit now. And so Charles is going to be in that limelight, and he's the one that's going to have to face the fallout from Prince Andrew, and that's, I think, going to be difficult.
Pick you up on that point now, and it is important to say at this point that Prince Andrew does deny any wrongdoing, and he isn't facing any criminal prosecution in the United States. And in that trial of Ghislaine Maxwell in New York, there was no evidence that Prince Andrew was ever allegedly involved in any wrongdoing. So it is important to state that. But the Daily Express this morning is saying that Andrew is fearing his abuse case will damage the monarchy. That's what they've got on their front page this morning. Morgan, what impact do you think, if any, this will have on the Queen and indeed the monarchy?
Well, I think it's right. This is a lot of negative attention being brought on the royal family. I think if he were really concerned about protecting their reputation, he would cooperate a bit more. I think the refusal to cooperate and this disastrous interview he had, where he claimed that he couldn't sweat and therefore all
but
these
he's sweating now, yes.
all of these things. That drew more attention than just quietly cooperating. And if he truly has nothing to worry about, as he maintains, surely cooperating with the authorities is the best way to go about it. I mean, the fact that he's not cooperating, could lead some people to draw their own conclusions. But of course, he is denying all allegations. So.
And the onus, to pick up on what Morgan just said, the onus is on the other side to prove that A, there's a case to answer, quite rightly, and B, how do you go about bringing that case to trial?
I think it's not the end of this story, is it? I think we're going to hear a lot more in 2022. I want to talk about a really positive story that's in the papers today, and we haven't touched on it yet, and I really want to. It's of Gary McKee. So, John, do you want to start by telling us a bit about him? He
is amazing. He is running, and having run one marathon, he's running 365, that's a marathon a day for a year. By the way, having done 110 of them previously, wow. He's working at the same time. I mean, he's 50-odd. I mean, God bless his knees. And he's raising money for cancer. I mean, sadly, my family's been affected by cancer so many times over the years. I can only just say, God bless you, thank you, and be successful. And if there's a few pennies left in your pots, folks, after Christmas and New Year, throw them in Gary's direction, because it's a really worthwhile cause. It is absolutely incredible, isn't it? So he's doing a marathon every single day in 2022. So do we know any detail on that? Is that literally every evening when he gets in from work, he's just going to put on his trainers and run for 3.5 hours? Is that the idea? Apparently he's working, so he's going to, he said, what did he say? He said he's going to do morning work and afternoon run, or the other way around? Yeah, so he's a manager at a nuclear facility, and he says he's going to work from 6 a.m. to 2 and then run, or 2 p.m. to 10, I think it was. Maybe he's secretly secreting about himself some nuclear stuff to keep it going. I mean, it's an incredible story. I mean, even, what was it, Eddie Izzard did a lot of them, and also for great causes. But I don't think he did 365 in a year. It's just amazing, isn't it? I think that's been my favourite story of today so far. I'm going to put both of you on the spot now, because we haven't got very long left with each other, just 45 seconds. But the highlight of 2021, your favourite news story? Whoa. My favourite news story is that I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm just pleased that Great Britain came out of the pandemic, because I think we are coming out of it, in pretty decent shape. I think the economy is in good shape, and I think we are in good heart. And I think, for me, the culmination of all the negativity is a tribute to our great nation, that we are still positive and looking forward to 22. Nice optimism. John, Morgan, quick word from you. You talked about it earlier, but I think the advances in private space travel and all of the incredible new scientific frontiers we're reaching in space is so exciting, and there's a lot more to look forward to in 2022. So exciting. That's a really good one, Morgan. Well, thanks so much. Put you on the spot there, but you were brilliant, and you have been all morning. So thank you so much for your company, and thank you to you for watching at home. Up next is a very Mercy Christmas with Mercy Morocco. That's after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Good morning and welcome to your New Year's Eve weather forecast. Here are your headlines. Through today, it's breezy, the wind's picking up later, some brighter skies as rain fades away. Now, the weather front down towards the southeast will clear quite quickly through the morning, but this one across the central belt of Scotland will continue to deliver clouds and some outbreaks of rain, but even here we'll see the rain waning through the afternoon. Wherever you are, though, it's going to be a breezy one. So through the morning, that rain clears towards the southeast, some brighter skies, but cloud racing across the country with a keen breeze. The rain across central and southern parts of Scotland, northern England will tend to die out in situ, and drier skies for Northern Ireland, brighter moments for the far north of Scotland. But look at these temperatures through the afternoon. 9 across the far north, but elsewhere where we see that milder air coming in around 14 or 15 degrees Celsius, temperatures we normally see during April rather than at the end of December. So if you are stepping out through New Year's Eve evening, many areas will be dry. Yes, a lot of clouds, some spits and spots of rain where the clouds thick enough, particularly over the hills and mountains. And then more rain around midnight, just clips the north and the west of the country. The winds, though, will be a main feature of the weather. Gales likely across more western parts. And generally speaking, it will be, again, a mild evening and a mild night. So through New Year's Day first thing, we'll see some brighter skies central and eastern areas of England and Scotland. This band of showery rain will just travel quite quickly across the country. So certainly through the afternoon, it will clear the shores of eastern parts of the country. And further west, we'll see some brighter skies, but it will be windy wherever you are. A real significant breeze coming up from the southwest, and temperatures typically through the afternoon, again around 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. So that's the picture through New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. Through New Year's Day, as I said, brighter skies either side of that showery rain band, and then things turn colder from the north with gales in the south on Sunday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join me, Mark White, here on GB News. For more than 2 decades, I've been at the sharp end of reporting crime and security at home and abroad. From the scourge of terrorism to the fight against violent crime and the deepening small boats crisis in the Channel, they're issues you rightly care about, and so do I. As GB News Home and Security Editor, my focus will be on the stories that matter to you.
Hello, I'm Mercy Morocco, one half of the To The Point duo, bringing you this festive special of the highs, the lows and the laughs. It's been an interesting year, not least for the GB News team, who had the pleasure of launching a brand new national news station back in June. It's also been an interesting year for the rest of the country. The pandemic carried on, sadly. We had a messy pullout of Afghanistan after 2 decades in the country, and football nearly came home, but alas, it was not to be. Now, as many of us sit down and take part in family reunions over Christmas and the festive period, many of you will know how difficult it can be getting to know new people, trying to remember new names. Trust me, I know a thing or two about that. Many brave men and women have had the pleasure of sitting next to me in the GB News hot seat.
A very good morning. You're watching Brazier and Morocco on GB News.
Good morning. You're watching Brazier and Morocco on GB News. With me today, Alistair Stewart, sitting in for Colin, and me, of course, Mercy Morocco.
And you're watching GB News with me, Tom Harwood.
And me, Mercy Morocco. Good morning. You're watching GB News with me, Mercy Morocco.
And me, Isabel Webster.
You're watching GB News with me, Mercy Morocco.
And me, Darren McCaffrey.
Morning, everyone. You're watching To The Point on GB News with me, Patrick Christie's, and Mercy Morocco. And we're here all the way through until midday, as ever, with a show full of those biggest stories, lots of discussion on the issues that you care about.
Yes, make sure you get in touch with your views, gbviews@gbnews.uk. One of the perks of the job is getting to put the questions the public would want to ask directly to those in power. And we've certainly had our fair share of big interviews.
So what this means is, first of all, British business will have tariff-free access to the Australian market. So the tariffs will be removed on products like Scotch whisky, on cars. Currently, we're exporting 10,000 cars from the northeast of England every year into Australia. The tariffs will be taken off those, and all products going into Australia. It's going to make it easier for Brits to live and work in Australia. So whether those are in professional jobs or whether it's for the under 35s, they'll be able to go to Australia for 3 years without having to undertake the farm work requirement. And we've also got some very advanced provisions in areas like financial services, data and digital. The UK is the second biggest services exporter in the world. So that's also really important. But as well as being a great deal in itself, it's also an important stepping stone for the UK joining the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's a major trade area, 500 million people.
I think child marriage is child abuse. There should be no room for it.
It's a strong statement.
Yes, it is, because, and it's true. And I think with almost everyone I've talked to so far about this, both inside and outside of Parliament, it's something that it resonates with them, that people get that. Because if you think about our legal system as it is, it already recognises that you don't become an adult until you reach the age of 18. And that is why the law protects children from taking certain decisions, especially ones that might have a huge impact on their future adult life. We don't let them, for example, even get tattoos until they're 18. They can't take out a loan.
We let them vote in Scotland.
Well, the Scottish Government lets them vote, and that's another issue. And by the way, I'm talking about England and Wales, where at least you need parental consent. But in Scotland, you don't even need parental consent to get married.
That's why people used to go to Gretna Green, wasn't it, to marry?
Well, people, that's right. But the reality is that people seem to think, when I first bring this up with so many people, they think, oh, this is actually something that's awful, and it's something that happens in developing countries. But actually, it's happening right here in our own country. I mean, this was a big problem for me, and now the numbers are some 10 times what they were back then. That's despite the Home Secretary doing everything she can. I think she's taken this incredibly seriously, is working, whether it's with her French counterparts, border force and other things, and she's working incredibly hard on this. But the fact that the numbers are so high shows you just how difficult a problem this is. And I would also say this, because I always think it's worth it not to conflate all asylum seekers with illegal immigration. There are legitimate reasons. If someone is genuinely fleeing from persecution from a country, and then we should be proud of the country that offers them safe harbour, and we have done that throughout history, recently with Somalia, with Syrian